Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. And today, we're going to be looking at one of the most famous magic users in all of fiction, and indeed in all of fantasy across the high fantasy worlds, the Wizard of Middle-earth, the Grey or the White, Gandalf. Gandalf is a spirit that was sent by the gods at the beginning of Middle-earth in order to help maintain the balance of the living creatures of Middle-earth. Gandalf is a 6'2", 190-pound old man, aging in at 10,000 years old, with white skin, white hair, and shining blue eyes. Now, because D&D doesn't exactly have a race for these specific wizards, I actually called him an Aasimar, a human that had angel blood in them. It seems to make the most sense. His alignment is lawful good, without a doubt, and his background is sage, as a studious member of several libraries and knowing exactly how to find information even in the depths of the city of Gondor and across the world. But here's the thing about Gandalf that many people don't quite know. Gandalf's not a wizard, per D&D lore. I mean, obviously he's called the wizard in Lord of the Rings, but wizards learn their magic through study and through books and through all sorts of academic features, whereas Gandalf has his magic naturally through a gift from basically his birth or creation at the hands of the gods. In actual fact, Gandalf is a sorcerer, more specifically a divine soul sorcerer. Quite a powerful one to be. Now, as far as his stats go, he has a strength of 14. He's no pushover. A dexterity of 16. He is surprisingly fast for his age. And his constitution is 20, as he can take several hits from a huge monster and just not stop. His intelligence is 18, being pretty well educated. Not the smartest person in Middle-earth, but certainly one of them. His wisdom is 20, being a fearless tactician and leader of the Fellowship of the Ring. He is wonderful in that regard. And his charisma actually supersedes creatures of Middle-earth, since he does have that angelic background and charisma is what powers his magic. I gave him a charisma of 22. He has proficiency in Constitution and Constitution and Charisma saving throws, being a sorcerer, and a few skill proficiencies: Arcana, History, Religion, as well as Insight. Now, he speaks Common, Celestial, as well as Elvish and Dwarvish, the most common languages of the races. He doesn't wear armor, being a sorcerer, and he's only proficient in a few weapons naturally as a sorcerer: daggers, darts, slings, staffs, and crossbows. But he does have a feat that gives him a few more weapons to use: spears, long swords, short swords, and clubs. He doesn't have any tool proficiencies to speak of. As far as his gear goes, though, he does have some interesting gear. He wears the robe of the Archmage, which gives him quite a bit of defense, and some extra magical power to boot. He wears the Clothes of Mending, since they never seem to get torn up, and the Hat of Wizardry, which is something that allows him to cast spells that he doesn't necessarily know by using special checks. And as far as his weapons go, he carries his staff, which in this particular case I've made a Staff of Striking, a +3 melee weapon, since even though he does use his staff to cast magic, and this staff can be used as a magical arcane focus, it also is very useful in melee combat, as we see him use it all the time. And he wields a mighty legendary blade, Glamdrin the Foe Hammer, a +3 longsword that I have called a +3 Sun Blade. It does radiant damage to dark enemies and is one of Gandalf's most powerful items. Because of his robes of the Archmage and his natural dex, he has an armor class of 18, a speed of 30, and a hit point maximum of 119. Now, he does have a few powers here. Favored by the gods, this comes from his divine soul sorcerer powers, and gives him some of those extra abilities as far as skill proficiencies, and it gives him access to the cleric spell list on top of the sorcerer one, basically doubling his available spells that he can learn. Then he has the Font of Magic, which gives him his sorcery points, and his meta magic, Subtle Spell, Quicken Spell, and Distant Spell. These are things that we can definitely see him do in both the movies and the books. He gains Empowered Healing as well. Whenever he does use his magic to heal, it does extra healing. And then he has the Magic Initiate feat, which he actually took twice, both to give him powers in Warlock magic, as well as Paladin magic. This is not normally an option for Magic Initiate, but there were a couple spells that he needed to take from the Paladin list to really round out his roster, so I let him have it for this one. He also took the Weapon Master feat, which is how he got those extra weapon proficiencies. As an ASMR, he does have Dark Vision, and the Healing Hands power, which gives him the ability to heal people. Then he gains the Celestial Resistance power, giving him resistance to both necrotic and radiant damage. That is very fitting for Gandalf, as well as the Radiant Consumption ability. Now, as far as his magic goes, when you really think about it, Gandalf doesn't use a whole lot of high-level magic very often in the stories of Lord of the Rings, but he does have quite a bit that we could stretch him to, using a little bit of artistic license. Several cantrips at his disposal: Light, Guidance, Spare the Dying, Thaumaturgy, Minor Illusion, and Prestidigitation, and the Friends cantrip. But then there's, of course, Eldritch Blast, which he stole from the Warlock side, the blasts of force that we see him using in the Fellowship of the Ring. As far as his level 1 spells, he gains Bless and Shield, as well as Detect Magic, Guiding Bolt, Comprehend Languages, and Mage Armor, which I guess he doesn't really need because of his Robe of the Archmage, but it's there. And then at his second level spells, he gains Find Steed. He got that from the Paladin, since he is capable of summoning horses to him, as well as the Prayer of Healing. Then at level 3, he gains Remove Curse, Daylight, and Dispel Magic. At level 4, he has Divination. At level 5, he has Legend Lore. At level 6, the Globe of Invulnerability. This is actually something you see him using in the Hobbit movie as Gandalf the Grey to ward off evil spells. And then on a couple occasions, Gandalf is known to teleport. So his level 7 spell is the Teleport spell, allowing him to pop across the world at a moment's notice in dire situations. Overall, Gandalf is not actually the most powerful spellcaster that we've seen on this channel, but as far as magic in Lord of the Rings goes, it's very rare, and the spells he has still helps him stand out amongst the Fellowship of the Ring, and easily gives him the power to be the leader and the wizard of the lore of Lord of the Rings that we all know. Although he isn't technically a wizard, he is a powerful divine soul sorcerer, one who would be very welcome on any list of adventurers, and could easily be a character that would fit into your D&D game. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes open for more character creations coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.